the teachers of this school and students who have the good fortune to attend this school. I prefer to have games with young boys and girls than to inflict upon them heavy weight of wisdom in an evening talk. I was disappointed when my friend told me that it is too late for you to give me a game of table tennis. I would 100 times prefer to have a game because that is what youth is meant for. Student career is a time very precious in the life of everyone. And it has been my great good fortune to be connected with students for 20 years after I actually ceased to be a student in any institution. And I have loved youth throughout my life, and I have considered that portion of my life when I devoted my small energies to working with young students in India as one of the most precious and happy periods of my life. Why I believe and feel so is that youth is a time in which the purest element of human being are in a condition of burgeoning, in a condition of opening up. And it is a time when, that's why I was wanting to tell you that please do not undervalue the state through which you are passing. You will never get back the period from 15 to 22 in the whole of your life again. It is very precious period of human existence in the sense that it is then that the seeds of the whole of life are sown, and you get a freedom which you never would perhaps get unless something happens and your spirit gets free. You are free from the burden of earning your livelihood. Somebody provides you with food, somebody provides you with clothes, and your only work given to you is to learn, to grow, to be strong, to get the wisdom of the past in you, and to make way for your future. Such a carefree time you will never get again. And therefore, I wish you to take full advantage of the opportunity from 15 to 22, the most precious period of any man's life that you can imagine. But at the same time, it is a very important period. Important in the sense that can you, for instance, turn your whole of life into a play, into a game? It is rare to find somebody who could. It's very difficult to turn one's life into a game. Even game can teach very great wisdom if one knows how to play the game of life. As you play on the playground, you find that there is plenty of opportunity to be honest, to be generous, to be kind, not to hit below the belt, to have the esprit de corps, brotherhood, agility, frankness. Games can teach what perhaps books sometimes do not teach. And that is why I was just telling you that I feel a sort of, nostalgia for young age when I see young people. And I reminded of Thomas Gray's verse, you remember, one of his poems. When he visited his college after 15 years at Eton, he saw the same spires where he was studying. And he said, I don't know how many of you read Thomas Gray. I don't know. Ode to the distant prospect of Eton College. You remember any of you? No. Ye distant spires, ye antique towers that crown the watery glade, where once my careless childhood strayed, a stranger yet to pain. Yes, that's how we remember. And then he said that I would like to give them wisdom which would make them understand that life is a serious responsibility. But then he said, why should I tell? Why should they know their fate, since sorrow never comes too late, and happiness but too swiftly flies? Where ignorance is bliss, it is folly to be wise. Yes, when you can be happy in your infant ignorance, it is good not to know heavy problems of life. But yet, this is a period of collecting the material for your future life, and I would fail in my duty if I do not draw your attention to 2 points this evening. One, have any of you ever thought, why do you study in this school? It is not a serious thought. I don't want to be burdened down and bent down with the weight of thinking. But have you? Yes, books are good for study. Book is one study. A subject, mathematics, history, geography, science, chemistry, history, geography, all is very good. Wisdom of the past collected, whatever man has progressed is given to you in a tabloid form, in a mild form, in a dilute form, and you get the knowledge. And you prepare yourself, your intellect, your mind, judgment, concentration, habit of studying and expressing yourself, creative power and all that you do. But apart from it, the question does remain for every human being. And unless and until he faces his problem now or afterward, he is not a full-grown man. Please remember. Unless and until you find out, why do you study? What do you want to do after study? You must think over that. You will never be able to think after 22 or 23. Remember, when you are 22 or 23, you will feel as if somebody has caught you by the neck and says, now no more thinking, jump into life. You understand? So, best is now when you are free between 15 and 22 to devote time to thinking sometimes, what do I want to do with my studies? Why am I studying? You must put this question to yourself. It is necessary to know. Book knowledge is one knowledge. To become a good man or a good woman is another knowledge. All people who pass examinations necessarily are not integrated individuals. To be efficient is not the only game or only goal of life. To rise to full manhood, to become a complete man, integrated man, full-grown man. And for that, study alone and books and subjects are not enough. You must think every time when you have leisure to see, why am I studying and what will I do after studying? And if you think I will do something, then you say, but why do I want to do that thing? If you say, what do you want to do? I want to succeed. Succeed in what? What is your idea of success? You must think over these problems, you understand? If you don't, your education will remain incomplete. It will be book education, you will pass an examination, get a degree, which is not bad because it gets you a job. But why do you want to take a job? And which job you take? And why do you want to take the job that you prefer? In fact, what is your idea of full life, fulfillment of life? What do you consider to be ideal of life? This looks serious, isn't it? Yes, but you can lightly take this between 15 and 22. Nobody is going to put the burden next day on your shoulders. You yourself have to put the burden on your mind and to see your way in life. It is the only small chink that will allow you to see which way you want to move in life to have a complete and integrated individuality about you. Because you are living now, not in the past, but you are the hopes of the future. And the future of mankind is not even what it was 20 years back. Mankind is marching quickly, fast ahead. World has already become one. And you are the future citizens of that one world. You will have to think in terms and live in one world. You understand? I am trying to just put before you a few ideas this evening so that Your education will be complete. No school can give complete education today. Each individual must educate himself by thinking about in what does he believe to be the success of his life. If you say success consists in getting money, well, probably if you look around, you will find people who have got money. And at least some of them, if not all of them, may not be happy. So that money alone is not a criterion of a successful life. Success in life consists in evolving values of life. To evolve values of life is the first condition of a successful life. Value is not a principle. Value is not an idea. Value is not something which you hold in your mind as something to be reached someday in future. Value is active, dynamic, present in your consciousness. If a man suddenly gets an impulse to take somebody's property, misuse somebody's property or tell a lie to gain success or gain temporary advantage over somebody, something from his conscience tells him, you must not do it. That is a value. Value is a dynamic movement in the heart of man, in the consciousness of man, which either goads him to good action or prevents him from being something which his very inmost being tells him to be not good or bad. That is a value. And you must evolve values in your life. Something in the very being which makes you know and which makes you obey the behest, obey the command of what the inmost soul in you says to be good, true, right, just, proper, noble, something that makes you feel the sense of beautiful around you. If you can evolve and create values within you, then they will mold your life into a condition in which you will be able to reach integrated personality. This looks very difficult. Looks as if, oh, how could we do all that? How to, we have to study, we have to pass exam, we have to be regular, attend classes, there are lessons to be done and examination and notebooks to be given to teachers and then mistakes to be corrected. Yes, that is a burden which you as young people should lightly bear. A young man and a young girl is quite capable of thousands of things. I know it from my experience. Nothing that young man or young woman cannot do. It is very easy for somebody who makes up his mind. Everything is light for young age. Everything that comes is taken and immediately finished and is ready to apply his energies to the task of progress. Why I am telling you these ideas now is that I have great hopes in the younger generation of this age, this time, because they are bringing in the future. And the future that is coming is a very great future. And to make the future great, you will have to rise to that greatness. You will not be allowed to remain only satisfied with successful economic career, earning money and making property and thinking that you have done something wonderful. You must not think that when you have earned money to maintain yourself and to get your clothes and your house and your food, that you have done something wonderful. Nothing. It is nothing. A great ideal is waiting before you. And you rise to fulfill what is expected of you. And what is expected of you is very great. These people who are running the human life today in politics, in society, in thought, in philosophy, in idealism, well, they are now not going to be people who will lead you. You will have to lead the world. Therefore, you have to know what are the prospects of a future world. And in that one world, you will have to see how to maintain the higher values of human life. These are difficult problems, and you will think perhaps, oh, how am I called upon to fulfill my task in the future of human race? I am a small, insignificant, infinitesimal one individual here in a corner somewhere in a village. How am I? It is not one or two. It is not number that is important. You may be most insignificant outwardly, but the truth which comes into you is not insignificant. It is very powerful. And what succeeds in life is not numbers. What succeeds in life is sincerity of purpose, strength of will, higher values of life carried into execution by the individual. It is that which really creates success in life. An obscure villager, his name was Hampden, in England. I am telling you English history, one incident only. He refused to pay the tax, and that was the beginning of British Parliament. A mere villager, Hampden, his name is there in history. It's not from romance. I am not telling you a story from a novel. No. He refused. He said, this tax is illegal and I shall not pay. The whole thing began, you see. So, it is not one individual, but the truth on which he stands is infinite, is divine. You have, when you stand on such a high value of life, when you stand for brotherhood of man, for sacrifice, for nobility, you have an infinite divine strength behind you. You are never alone when you follow these high ideals, which really makes man more than he appears to be, a mere small, insignificant animal. That is what is expected of the youth of today. And I want you, young friends who are gathered this evening, to remember that you are here not merely to study the books and subjects and pass examinations, but to formulate yourself, to form your character, to form your being, to know the purpose of life, and to formulate it here when you have leisure. Now 5 to 6 years you have got leisure to think out, to thrash out, to change, to modulate, to modify, and just to decide what you want to do. And one or two things only that I indicate to you is that you are going to live in one world. That is one. And secondly, that you have to evolve some higher values of life within yourself. No outside teaching will be able to mold you to the highest ideal. It is from conscience, from something within you, that you must evoke the higher values of life. Values of truth, values of right, values of good, values of nobility, value of justice, values which make you understand what it is to love somebody, to sacrifice for a cause. Well, it is those values which you must evoke in your life now, so that they might become strong and sturdy trees in future. How to do this thing? It is very difficult. We have no examination for this thing. You will say, we are not going to be, no need to be examined. This is a thing in which you can become your own examiner. I will give the instance of an American. His name was Benjamin Franklin. All of you must have heard his name at any rate, if not Hampton's name. Yes, Benjamin Franklin. Have you read his autobiography? I don't know how many of you have read it. I would recommend you to read it. It's a very fine autobiography. In that, he recounts an incident. He was very irregular. He was poor, At the age of 12, he was compelled to earn. Yes, you are like, were aristocrats in comparison to Benjamin Franklin's condition. He lived in abject poverty. You are living like lords compared to Benjamin Franklin. You see, he found that he had great defects in him. He found that, every day he was missing his appointments, being late, and, slovenly. Sometimes he told lies and was not honest and so on. He could observe himself, you see, and he said, this is not good. And how to set myself right? So Benjamin Franklin set himself right by a process which he invented, and I give that invention if you can take advantage of it. He formulated a table. You see, Monday, Sunday, Saturday, and so on, week. And then virtues, which he thought he was lacking in or he wanted to acquire. Regularity, honesty, sincerity, and so on, truthfulness, cleanliness, all like that. And then wherever he failed, he put a cross. Yes. And then every week he used to take an account. Every week he made an account of himself and he said, now this week, how many times I became irregular, how many times I did, and so on. Well, that is the way he pursued for years. Till, well, he became what you know him to be, a great man and a great philanthropist and a great lover of humanity, not merely a patriot of America. Remember, he supported the French Revolution. French Revolution, which was a successful republic, supported the American War of Independence. And you see, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Paine, and these people were responsible for bringing the moral support of France for the American War of Independence. He was a very great humanitarian, a man who loved humanity. Well, that is apart. Apart from it, what you can do also additionally is that every day for 5 minutes, in the morning or 5 or 10 minutes at night, you sit down quietly in your bed and look over what I did in the whole day. If you don't keep a note like Benjamin Franklin, which you can do, you can sit down in your bed, in your chair, in your room alone and examine what did I do today which I should not have done. And you will be the best mentor to yourself. I promise you, as one who has seen many young people go through this process and progress, I can tell you that you will be on the way to progress, because if you sit down, somebody will help you. Somebody who is already within you. He will see to it that you see what you must see and what normally you don't like to see. Generally, a human being, grown up or young, does not want to see his bad points. You see, one likes to see himself in a mirror, but one never likes to see himself as he is. You see, it is not a pleasant sight for man to see that he has dark spots and, weak spots and ugly scars in his inner being. So that man is not pleased when he sits alone and says, what did I do? But you must slowly muster up courage and say, no, I must look at myself. 5 minutes only, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, sit down and say, well, from morning to night I was there, I did this, I did that, I did that, I did that, I spoke here, I thought here, I acted here, and what was there which I would not like to do again? Or what was it that something in me said, this is not good? And if you sit down for 5 minutes like that, if you don't make a note like Benjamin Franklin, if you do that, probably you will be able to find out the way to progress and fulfill that which is expected of you in the present world of humanity. It is expected of you that you will rise to great heights, and unless you prepare yourself physically, intellectually, morally and spiritually, you will not be able to fulfill that which is expected of you. Life is a long journey. And this is the time to prepare for that long journey. Now, as I told you, between 15 and 22. So you take up whatever can serve you in the long journey. And the best thing that can serve you is some conception of perfection. Not merely a successful career. Some conception, some idea of what you consider to be perfection. Look at some idea of perfection and follow it. That, I think, is one thing that is very necessary in the present condition of the world. You must have some idea of perfection. And the travel of life is the march to perfection. The voyage to perfection is not a voyage through a garden. It is not as it were, when you have seen perfection, there is nothing to prevent us reaching it. No, when you have seen perfection, you must get yourself prepared for difficulties, because that is perfection. I know of friends who were meeting me and were students who were studying with me. Some of them told me that, you see, I have now an idea of becoming an artist. I said, very good. After 2 years when I met him, I said, you decided to follow art? He said, you see, if I follow art, I won't get sufficient money. So I will become a teacher. So he became STC, means Teachers Training College, and passed this teacher's examination. I told him, look here, if you take my advice, you straight away take to art. He said, but that will be difficult. I said, that is a part of your growth. Don't avoid difficulties. If you want to reach perfection, do not want conveniences to come to you. You are out for difficulties and troubles. Life is really a growth through those difficulties. If everything is convenient, then there is no meaning in attaining perfection, isn't it? So, when you have an ideal of perfection, do not think that it is an easy march. It is a difficult way which you have to pursue. It will be hard work, marching through obstacles, through pathless ways. You see, you have to cut your own way, but that is the way to reach perfection. So be prepared for difficulties if you have evolved high values of life. An English poet, C.D. Lewis. I had great pleasure of meeting him in England in 55. He is a very fine writer and a poet. He has written very good poetry, and some of you who are lovers of poetry can gain very much by reading C.D. Lewis. His collected works are there in 1954, was published first. Well, he writes about something which concerns human life, and he says, to travel like a bird, to travel like a bird, likely to view desert, likely to view, what does he say? Yes. Stonebirds flounder in the sand. Yes. Ocean embraced in white sleep by land. To escape time. Always to start anew. Always to start anew. To travel like a bird. Likely to view desert where stonebirds flounder in the sand. Ocean embraced in white sleep by land. Escape time, yes, to escape time, always to start anew. That is one desire. To settle like a bird. To settle like a bird. Make a devoted gesture of permanence on the spray of shaken stars and autumn. Both are our wish. To travel like a bird, to settle like a bird. To make a devoted gesture of permanence on the spray of shaken stars and autumns. Time in which stars and autumns shaking. Flow of time where there is nothing permanent. To settle like a bird and make a devoted gesture of permanence. Both have our wish. Alas, the bird flies blind, hooded by a dark sense of destination. Bird flies without knowing where the bird is going. But it knows that there is a destiny to reach, is it not? The bird flies blind, hooded by a dark sense of destination. Well, travelers, we are the fabric of the road we go. We ourselves are the fabric of the road we go. We settle, but like feather on time's flow. So you see, we are all travelers in a journey. We want to travel like a bird and settle like a bird. Well, the bird has a sense of destination, and we want, and I want you to acquire this sense of intuitive sense of destiny of man, the fulfillment of human life, which is to reach a divine goal. Well, that is the destiny. Just as a bird flies blind, hooded by the sense of destination, I would like you. All human beings are like birds that must fly to this destination. And if you want to make a gesture of permanence and settle like a bird, well, you settle lightly on the flow of time, creating the road for the upward movement of the human race. Well, we are all the material of that road, and I would like you to look upon your life as an occasion to contribute to the making of that upward road. I think that's enough for the thing. First of all, not very conscious about Indian or Hindu values. What Indian values I know are international. My study of Indian values has always led me to a conviction and a practical realization that the highest ideal of Indian culture are all international. They were never meant for only India. I'll give you one instance how I look at this problem. When I went to England, for instance, well, I had to say that I come from a poor country, which is a fact. Not only that, but it is backward in many respects. And it was with a view to pay back some debt of culture which India owed to Europe and particularly to England, that I undertook the journey of England in 1955. And I had to tell them this, that in spite of poverty, one department of life is there in which India can help the outside world, because it is not a question of money or riches or material progress. India has got the good fortune of producing personalities that think for the world and try to see the world problem in its totality. That is one good point from the most ancient times right up to modern times. The Upanishad that is written 3,000 years before speaks in terms which says, Ishavasyam idam sarvam, all this that I see in front is fit for habitation by the Lord. Now it didn't say this India that is in front of me is fit for habitation by the Lord. And when Tagore comes on the scene, he does not think in terms of India. He always thinks in terms of humanity and the progress of man and his fulfillment in life. When Gandhi comes on the scene, he always thinks of solving human problems and applies his remedy to India because India happens to be near him and he happens to know India more intimately. But the remedy which he suggests is for the whole of mankind. In fact, that is what has happened, that today in international life, the remedy suggested by Mahatma Gandhi about non-violence as a solution for international problems of political and social injustices is now receiving more and more attention, which is true because it was thought for India. In the same way, Sri Aurobindo, for instance, when he speaks about man's destiny on earth, he speaks of the whole human race. So that whether India follows the message of our own culture or not is India's business. But if it is meant for the world and for international life, well, I think that anybody who finds that it is true can make up his mind and save the truth. If India fails, it is India's failure. And if somebody takes up the torch of truth, well, it is a success for the truth, isn't it?
What would you say is the most significant aspect of the message of Sri Aurobindo for living in the modern world?
Living in, that's why I have come here, but I want the students to, I want something which the students can take. I want something which the students can take as a beginning, because there is each one a divine entity, divine center. Divinity is the birthright of all, irrespective of caste, color, creed or sex, or religion or society. It is all that is habitation for the Lord. And everyone has a divine spark in him, only it is hidden like a seed. And how to make this seed, well, sprout and come out and express in life is the problem. And he believed that the ultimate destiny of man is to realize the divinity that is in him and express it in life. Not to renounce life, but to fulfill life in the divine. That is in short his message. The central thing that I would like to insist rather is that for India today, from Ramakrishna to Sri Aurobindo, the insistence is that religion means experience. Religion should mean experience, not merely affirmation or acceptance of a credo. Religion must mean experience. So it is spirituality and not religion from their point of view. They will say that if a man is religious, he must realize the truth of his religion, which is one. Which is one. And it must become an experience, not a affirmation or an intellectual, assertion only. That I believe, that's not enough. That's not religion. That's a mental idea. It's an idea. It must become an experience, something concrete. In science, that you deal with the material energy and have experiments and experience on physical and material level. So this experience must be in the inner level. But religion must become experience. And that is a very great truth, because that's the way to make man realize the highest entity that is within him. Otherwise, man will be always subjected to matter. He will say, what I see is only true. And he will not think that it is I who have created this truth. See, what is happening now today is, man has conquered material energy to such an extent that he now feels that he is the master of material energy. And now this material energy is so vast that he is being crushed by it, and he thinks, oh, what shall I do? In Stanford University, a student asked me a question. Sir, you are telling we are talking about philosophical problems. So he said, his philosophy is all right, but one atom bomb and all will be killed. So I said, who created the atom bomb? Mind. Well, you control the mind, the atom bomb can do nothing. Atom bomb is not all powerful. Atom bomb is not omnipotent. Mind has created the atom bomb. Control mind, you will control the atom bomb. Why are you afraid of it? We are not afraid of it. We never think of the fear of atom bomb. Nothing can happen. Is your mind all right? Is your spirit all right? Are you sure that you have the dignity of man about you? You will conquer everything that is opposed to your progress. But now the difficulty is, he has conquered matter, and he is afraid of matter. Look at man. He is afraid of dead, inert matter which he controls now. And he thinks, oh, this matter can destroy me. How can matter destroy anyone? Man has created the mastery over matter. Well, he must remain master of himself. Isn't it? Sri Aurobindo says, to get the mastery is to awaken the divine. Man, with his mind and with his animality, cannot fully master himself. He must awaken the God in him. Then he will be perfect master. And then the powers will belong to him, because he will be the divine being manifesting divine powers. This will be a part of his expression. See, Buddha lived at 2000 years back, 2500 to be exact. You see? And his problem was not so much fulfillment of man as the removal of suffering. He was very much interested in solving the problem of suffering and pain. So he said, how to remove pain? He did not think how to fulfill the spirit of man which has come here on earth. And he is given mind, he is given a willpower, he is given a vital power, a life power, and he is given capacity to know, to act, to understand, and so on. He said, how to save him from this pain? So it was more or less, as you might put it, a negative approach. And in removing pain, he said something positive, that you acquire right thought, right will, right understanding. The eightfold path which he laid down was only to prepare man to withdraw from pain. You understand? But Sri Aurobindo's message is more in advance in the sense that he not only wants to remove pain and ignorance, because pain is due to ignorance of man. Man suffers because he is ignorant. So, first remedy would be to remove his ignorance. And secondly, because he is the divine spark, he must awaken the divinity in him. And when the divine in him works, well, he will attain perfection. This is the case, you see. And as we come 2000 years after him, naturally our problems Buddha cannot know. Our difficulties of modern progress of science, commerce, industry, international life, war, peace, these are our problems, which did not exist in Buddha's time. Do you know that? Very simple thing. When Buddha left his house, which is a very great action, one of the greatest acts in human history, was that he left his small kingdom, his wife and his child, sleeping at night and went out to remove the pain of humanity. 50 miles around him, nobody knew about it. 50 miles around his village, people did not know. There was no television, there was no radio. Do you understand? It took years, and his work for 45 years was confined to an area of about 300 miles this way and 100 miles wide. He couldn't have flown to America. You understand the point? Point is that our problems today are different in their nature than the problem which he had to face in his time. That is also another reason why things must differ. It is not necessary that because it is in advance, therefore what Buddha did was useless. Not at all. We stand on the gain which Buddha has given to humanity. We admit charity to people, goodwill to all people, non-injury to other beings, which he brought. We want to incorporate in our life, but if we want to go further. A small process by which you can begin is to observe yourself every day for 5 to 10 minutes sitting quiet. When you sit quiet at night or morning or in the afternoon when you are free at the time of siesta, or whenever you feel that there is no pressure of work upon you, then you sit down and look at yourself and see what you have done and why you have done what you have done and what you would not like to do again or think again, and you say that I decide not to do this thing. And if you find that you are not successful, you can pray to God that please give me sufficient strength to conquer myself, to quiet my mind, to make my mind pure, or make my mind concentrated, or to throw away certain difficulties from me. And God is omnipresent. He will help. He helps always sincere people. It's the experience of all men everywhere in the world that if a sincere request is made, prayer is made, it is always answered. There is no exception to it. Only it does not act immediately. Therefore people think that nobody hears our prayer, which is not true. It has to be sincere, intense, and the time must come for its fulfillment. One must have patience in the wisdom of God.
Problems of today lies with the UN.
Yes. UNO is a great step forward in the ideal of realizing one world. My suggestion to UNO, nobody will listen to me, but still, is that they should not be only constitutional. It is not by rules. You understand? You cannot create unity by constitution. Unity is psychological, a feeling, is it not? Something that must happen inside you. Now, UNO is also something that has come by a movement inside. But the movement inside was inspired by fear. Fear of a third world war. You understand? Why they came together suddenly was that we have made such a destruction that we don't want to do it again. Well, that way people can unite, but it is not a strong bond. Strong bond of unity is real feeling of oneness. Now, you can't create a feeling of oneness by passing a law. You understand? UNO is constitution. Such and such a member. You see, 5 people are members. Do you know that constitution of UNO? Have you any idea of the UNO constitution? The constitution is that the 5 powers who won the last world war, they are the sponsors of the UNO. and they reserve a right of veto. Do you know that? England, America, Russia, France, and which other country? China, is it? I don't know now. The 5 countries reserve the right of veto. You see, they have veto. Means no resolution can be brought to UNO unless these people will say yes to it. Now, this is a right which denies unity. You see. But they were afraid that if we are only 5, and if 50 nations come, we will be 5 and the majority of 45 against us. Then we will be outvoted. Therefore, they reserve the right of veto. Now, if you want to really make UNO a success, you must create inner unity. And it is by inner movement, and constitution is good and necessary to conduct affairs and to prevent things from going from bad to worse. Quite right. It is good that there is a constitution. But if you want to succeed, the movement must come from inside, from the heart. People must go there in the UNO, not with the idea of getting votes, but with the idea of promoting unity. You see, if people go there and say, how many people are going to side with me, then you see, it is the idea is not how to make humanity one. Idea is how to make everybody do what I want them to do, which is not good. See, this is the difficulty. But slowly, I think we have make one big step is taken, and humanity will have to learn this by patience, perseverance, and awakening the true sense of unity of mankind. That humanity is one, and the world is one, and no nation should be allowed to remain outside. In fact, there are some people who want to keep them out. That those fellows must not be allowed to come. Then unity can never come, you see, that way. You must have a man who differs from you also sitting there on the table. Then you can talk out and understand what is his difficulty, what is his idea, what is your idea, and how to come together. You see, you cannot keep out a race or a people or a nation and create unity. You must have unity psychological. You see, it is inner. And by constitution, you can begin something, and it is a very great and good beginning, and I hope it is going to succeed. I wish it all success.
You spoke a little while ago when going through everyday life, to keep a perfectness in your mind and to mold your life to this. Could you define what you mean by perfectness? I mean, in what sense you would mold your life to it?
Well, I wanted really to leave to each one to decide his idea of perfection. You see? Each one must feel his own idea of perfection. That would be good. If you make it hard and fast, it might be that, oh, that idea of perfection doesn't appeal to me. You see, suppose take an artist, and take a scientist, or take a literary man. Now, their idea of perfection will be, of course, in the same direction, but yet might differ. So that you can say this much, that in the total idea of perfection, mere cleverness and only intellectual progress will not be included. Much more than intellect will be, attempted. In any scheme of perfection, man will take account of his standard of right, truth, justice, good, proper. You see, freedom of mind, or you see, nobility or beauty, or something which appeals to him as an ideal to be pursued. And that will mold his idea of perfection slowly. Perfection is something that has to be felt inside as a goal to be reached, you see. And ultimately the goal is one for all, but the road that leads to that goal are many. You see, one can go by art and reach one goal, one can go by science and reach the goal, and so on. The goal is to awaken the divinity that is in you. That is the goal. A divine spark is present in everyone, and fulfillment of man lies in awakening that spark. Highest perfection is to feel and know the divine and express the divine in life. That is the highest perfection that I can see. But I want to ask everyone to see that way, because that would be too much. Perhaps other people say, we have other ideas. I want to make humanity one, or I want to remove poverty of all mankind, or something. Well, any idea is as good as any other from that point of view. To me, it appears that the conception of highest perfection is that there is the spark of divine in everyone. To awaken that spark, to know that spark and express it in life, in mind, in thought, in behavior, in action, in dealing with others, that is, to me, the highest ideal. Well, that I put to for your consideration, not for acceptance necessarily.
Talked to a group which I remember rather recently that had this, and we were discussing some of the values of India and the problems of the world today and how effective they are in solving them. This relates to the UN also, I think, in regard to the dealings between India and communist China. She said that she was quite frank to admit that this approach wouldn't work. They'd have simply been shocked. That it works where there is an appreciation of value system. And, for instance, in relating it to the incentives of India and Gandhi's behavior, that it works because there was an appreciation and a recognition.
Quite right, yes.
But that where there was not that appreciation, and that was not true in dealing with communist China, this wasn't working, that they were simply slaughtered. And I wonder if this does complicate the problem.
It does. I admit that the problem of UNO is not merely to resort to non-violence, no, and that wouldn't solve the problem. Problem is a positive approach to the problem of creating psychological unity so that automatically the necessity of, strong action or military action would be obviated. That is the problem. Of course, it is taken for granted that given human nature as it is, non-violence and absolute non-violence is not practicable. Mahatma Ji himself had to admit it several times in his own life. He said that if the British were not there, it was not practicable. It was because the British people had an appreciation of the high moral value of what he was doing that it became practicable on a mass scale. But with some other nation who had no understanding or appreciation of moral values, it would not work. There only an organization which would be strong enough to resist would be successful. You see, so that I don't think that there is only one remedy and only one remedy for this problem. But so far as I see, the UNO's main important task is first to prevent a catastrophe as far as possible by peaceful means, and secondly, the second part of UNO, which is devoted to the social, educational, and cultural unification of mankind, it is called UNESCO. Is it not? UNESCO. That is a more important part of UNO than the political forum on which they are only paring for position and trying to, outvote somebody else and so on. That will bring unity much more near. The rates that are paid to wages of the labor, or crime, or reduction of bad habits, or prohibition, or opium, and so on. You see, that will bring the unity of mankind more near because it works on the plank of awakening the psychological unity of humanity. And to me, that is a more precious and more important part of UNO's activity than the other one, but the other one also is equally necessary. And I think the other part should be more stressed in the actual working out to bring this positive sense of unity so strong that it would take away by automatically the necessity of violent military action.